Okay, so this is the extension of the classes and objects lecture, and this is, you can think of this as part 2. So I'm going to create another class, and say for example we want to make, let's say we have a store and we sell some items, random items. So we will call this items, and in here each item should have a name, right? So that name can be stored in a string. Yeah. And then each item should have a price, so we'll store that in a double. Then down here we can have methods, so we can have a purchase method, and we can just output something like purchased, and then we bring out the item name, and we can say sorry for saying double, I wanted to say price. So we purchase the item for that particular price. When we invoke this method, we'll get the output that we have purchased, whatever the name of this item is, with whatever the price is. And let's just leave it at that. And then down here we can instantiate the items method, item 1. I'm just going to call this item 1. And we'll invoke the purchase method. So you can guess what the output will be. You can pause this and guess what the output will be, and then play it afterwards. So the output is purchased null for 0, 0, because we didn't set the attributes here. We didn't set the name, we didn't set the price. So remember, this would be your blueprint. Each item should have these attributes, and it should have a purchase method. But we don't have that. I mean, we do have that, but we don't have the values. So here, this is where we actually create the item, and we choose what type of items we want. So we can set the name of this item to be a book, for example, and we can set the price of this item to say it costs about 200 Rand. And we can create another book here, or another item. I'm going to call this item 2, new items, and we'll call this, okay, before we set the price, let's start with the name. The name of this can be, let's say they also sell shoes, and we can set the price of this to 800, and we can invoke this purchase method, and you're going to see the output. You're going to see two different outputs. So you get the output that you have purchased a book for 200 Rand. We can just add like an R here so that people can know which currency we're dealing with. So we're dealing with Rands. So we should be getting an output of 200 Rands instead. So let's wait for this to load. And here we get purchased book for 200 Rand. And here we get purchased shoes for 800 Rand. So you can create different items. So here is where you actually create the actual object using this blueprint. So I hope you guys understand clearly. So this wasn't too, hopefully this wasn't too complicated. And on the next lecture, we will jump into constructors and getters and setters. And we'll actually hide this information down here because this is not supposed to happen the way it's happening right now. We're not supposed to be able to access this information like this. So that process we'll talk about in on the next video, but I'm just going to go through another explanation of objects. Just going to give you another illustration so that you can have a firm understanding before we move on to the second topic. So I'm going to delete this, delete that, and we'll create another one. Plus, I'm gonna call this dog. Okay, let's just say student. So now we have a student class. So every student has a name, right? Oh, sorry, I always do that. And then every student is at a certain grade. So double grade. And every student, what else does a student have? Okay, let's just leave it at that. So every student can study, right? We'll just say something like, okay, let's add a subject here. Let's say favorite subject. Studying. So we'll say studying that favorite subject, whatever it is. So when we invoke this study method, it's going to output studying that particular subject, that favorite subject. And here we can have a method that will allow this kid to introduce himself. Introduce. We'll say, hey, my name is name. I am doing great. Put this on the next line. I'm doing great. Great. Just like that. And then we move on to the main method, and we will instantiate the student object, and we'll say new student, and we'll say student one, and we'll first give that person a name. Say that person's name is Kevin again. And the favorite subject, let's say it's physics. And the grade is 12. And we will invoke this study method, and we'll also invoke the we'll invoke the study method. And what other method did we have? The introduce method. And then we will run this. So it will say here this person is studying physics, and we'll get an output that says, hey, my name is Kevin, I'm doing grade 12. So we don't have 12 point something. We usually have an integer or a whole number, actually, from 1 to 12. So we have grade 1 up until 12. We can say int grade here. So now we'll have grade 12 instead of 12.0. That's kind of weird. So yeah, that's what we get. And that is another example. We can also create another student 2, and we'll give that person a name. Say that person's name is Josh, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this. Favorite subject is maths, and this person is also doing, okay, let's say this one is doing grade 11, and we'll run this. So now, okay, so can anyone guess what we did wrong here? We do get the output we wanted, but not exactly as how we wanted things to go, because now we are changing the names of this object, which is not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to give this object a name, student 2. We're changing student 1, so we're supposed to change this to student 2. And you'll get the same thing, but now these belong to the object student 2 instead of object student 1. So yeah, now we have 2 different students. We can create as many as we want, and again, this is not the actual way we're supposed to do things. We're going to talk about that on the next lecture, so do stay tuned. But I just wanted to show you that what happens here is you can create different objects, but they will all be different objects that use student, this class, as like a blueprint. So this will show, this leads the way. It shows them that there's supposed to be a name in that particular object, and there's supposed to be a grade and a favorite subject, and these 2 methods. And you can call them anytime you need them in your program. So that is the outline of objects. We'll move on to constructors in the next video.